You've probably heard people talk about having a growth mindset. It's a popular term, but what does it actually mean? Is it just about being optimistic or telling yourself, you can do anything? Well, not quite. The real idea is much deeper and more powerful, especially when it comes to learning and personal development. Let's dive in and unpack what a growth mindset truly is, and how we can cultivate it in ourselves and in the children we care for. To really understand growth mindset, it helps to contrast it with its opposite, the fixed mindset. Someone with a fixed mindset believes their abilities are innate and unchangeable. They think you're either born good at something, or you're not. Think about a child learning to ride a bike. If they have a fixed mindset, falling off might feel like proof that they're just not a bike person. They might say, I'm just clumsy, or I'll never get this. The frustration feels like a final verdict. Challenges feel like threats to their self-worth, and mistakes are seen as failures to be ashamed of. This can lead to avoiding new or difficult things altogether, because if you don't try, you can't fail. Now, let's look at the growth mindset. This is the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Your basic qualities are just the starting point for growth. So, when a child with a growth mindset falls off their bike, their internal dialogue is completely different. They might think, okay, that didn't work. What can I try differently next time? Maybe I need to look ahead instead of at my feet. For them, falling isn't a sign of failure. It's valuable information. It's a clue. Challenges aren't threats. They're opportunities to learn and get stronger. Effort is the key that unlocks new skills. This distinction is crucial, especially in how we talk to children. The language we use as parents, teachers, and caregivers can subtly push them toward one mindset or the other. For example, picture a child who just finished a drawing and shows it to you. A common reaction is to say, wow, you're such a good artist. You're so talented. While well-intentioned, this kind of praise focuses on an innate quality, being a good artist. This can inadvertently create pressure. The child might start to worry about losing that label. They might avoid trying more complex drawings because what if the next one isn't as good? What if they find out they aren't a natural after all? So, how can we praise them differently to foster a growth mindset? Instead of praising the person or the outcome, we can praise the process and the effort. You could say something like, I love how you use so many different colors in this drawing. Tell me about why you chose them. Or, I can see you worked really hard on getting the details of that tree just right. Your effort really paid off. This kind of feedback highlights their choices, their strategies, and their hard work. It sends the message that effort is what matters most. It makes them more resilient and more willing to take on the next challenge, because they know their value isn't tied to being perfect, but to the process of trying. Building a growth mindset isn't just about praise, though. It's about creating an entire environment where it's safe to struggle. Learning is not purely a cognitive activity. It's deeply emotional. Think about how it feels to not know something, to be confused, or to make a mistake in front of others. It can feel vulnerable and scary. When children and adults, for that matter, feel emotionally safe, they are more willing to step into that uncomfortable space of not knowing. One powerful strategy is to normalize difficulty. We can share our own struggles. Instead of presenting ourselves as people who have it all figured out, we can say things like, this new recipe is really tricky for me. I think I'll have to try it a few times before I get it right. Or, I made a mistake in my report today at work, but it was a good learning opportunity. When we model this behavior, we show that struggling is a normal, expected part of the learning process for everyone. It's not something to be hidden or ashamed of. It's also important to remember that a growth mindset isn't about constant pressure to improve or achieve. It's not about grinding 24/7 or never being satisfied. That leads to burnout. True growth mindset is a gentler, more supportive approach. It's about acknowledging the effort, celebrating small steps of progress, and understanding that growth is a journey, not a race. It's about valuing the process more than the perfect outcome. Ultimately, a growth mindset frees us from the tyranny of perfection. It allows us to see ourselves and our abilities as dynamic and ever-evolving. It teaches us that true growth doesn't come from getting everything right on the first try. It comes from the courage to embrace challenges, learn from our mistakes, and be willing to try again, and again, and again. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please give this video a like, and consider subscribing for more content like this. I'll see you in the next one.